I'm Dwayne Wade, and I've been blessed to have so many titles so far in my life. But now I'm adding podcast hosts with my new podcast called The Why with Dwayne Wade. On this show, I will have intimate conversations with some of the biggest names in sports, in music, in entertainment, in fashion, and we will discuss the whys in their lives. Listen to The Why with Dwayne Wade on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
What's up, people? This is Cam Jordan, all-pro defensive end with the New Orleans Saints. I'm known for my work on the field, but I also do work on the mic as host of the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast. Whether it's great football combos with all pros or it's fire music takes, the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast is your ultimate playbook for all things football and not football. Get new episodes every Wednesday through the playoffs and Super Bowl 58. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The NFL playoffs are here, and there's no better way to stay up to date on the latest from our league than with the Around the NFL podcast. Join me, Dan Hansis, and my buds, Mark Sessler and Greg Rosenthal, for news and fresh content all playoffs long. We've been doing this together for over 10 years, and the playoffs always offer up something we've never seen before. We'll preview and recap every game as we make our way through the playoffs and to Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58. Listen to the Around the NFL podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Heed the call.
You are listening to the Dan Patrick Show on Fox Sports Radio.
It's the final hour on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show, still have two coaching vacancies, the Seahawks and the Commanders, as Ben Johnson decides to stay with the Lions. Even though there were reports that his price tag scared away these two teams, Seahawks and the Commanders, reportedly asking for $15 million. All right. 877-3DP Show, email address dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. The NBA has a scoring problem, too much of it. We'll talk to Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, former NBA guard. He'll join us coming up here in a little bit. Let's see, final hour poll question. Seton, what are you thinking about? By the way, watching on Peacock, thank you. Downloading the app and, of course, listening on our radio affiliates around the country. All right, Seton.
Well, we got a few up there, Dan. We got a few more floating around,
okay,
if you will.
All right.
Greg Olsen should stay at Fox and bide his time or get out and find a new home. 71% say get out and find a new home. But then we also put up there, who would you rather have in the booth, Greg Olsen or Tom Brady?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
That's right. Yeah, we're not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Wow.
73% have Greg Olsen.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, we have nothing to go on with Tom Brady. I mean, he does have a radio show, but calling a game, analyzing a game, critiquing a game, we don't have anything to go on. I imagine if Brady's committed to it, he'll be all the way in on this. But I wonder, remember when Pat Riley was a commentator for NBC with Bob Costas with the NBA? And the report was that Pat Riley was all in on being an analyst, that he built a set so he could sit behind the set to get ready to sit on the set with Bob Costas. Now, that might be going a little too far, but I do appreciate the dedication to preparation. And but he built the NBA set in his garage, and then he would sit behind the set. I mean, there's nothing that compares you for live TV or readies you for live TV until you do live TV. Because I can tell you everything about it. And then all of a sudden, the rundown changes. And then somebody in your ear goes, hey, we don't have that interview right now. I need you to talk for 60 seconds more. And you could see the expression on analysts' faces. I mean, even host, where they'll go, ad-lib for 20 more seconds. And then somebody's in your ear. And then you're going to throw to, let's say, a Lamar Jackson interview. And they're going to go 5, 4. Now I'm talking. And they're talking in my ear. So I'll be saying, hey, coming up, we're going to have Lamar Jackson, his sit down with whoever, Rodney Harrison. Then they're going 5, 4, 3, 2. And here's Lamar Jackson. Until you do it, you don't, I can try to prepare you. Yeah. I can tell you everything about labor. You know, when you're having a baby, or my wife can, until you do it, there's no experience like it. It's like, hey, let me tell you what you need to do. And then you get into the throes of it. Not that doing a game is like having a baby, but you might feel It'll be like you delivered something. You hope you delivered something by the end of the game. Yes, Mark.
And it's like being in the background. TV is literally, my mom told me this. Hey, they don't care about the labor. Just show me the baby.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes they don't know how long something will take. And they're like, well, why is it not done yet? Because it takes longer than you think. Or it needs to be done now. My mom was yelling. I worked with my mom before. She was like, Marvin, it needs to be done now. No, not now, right now. Like, come on. Like, it is a crazy thing.
Plus, you don't understand if I say, hey, we need you to talk 30 seconds on the Patriots. These, former athletes and coaches, they don't know what 30 seconds is. But you have to have that clock in your head. Like, okay, I got something to say, and I'm going to get it in 30 seconds. A lot of these analysts would come into the mothership, and they would just talk and just keep talking. And I'd say, you know what, that's good, but how about you cut off about 90 seconds of what you said? 90 seconds? Yes. How about you just hit me with the punch, and then make it 20 seconds, 30 seconds. People will remember that. The longer you talk, the less they remember. And I would always say to Rodney Harrison and Tony Dungy, hit them. Hit them with the punch. Tackle them. If I give you a question, give them the answer. They'll remember that. If you start to kind of water it down and waver, people aren't going to remember. And that's what you want. You want them to remember what you have to say. And I think Tom will have to understand, which he will, you have a finite amount of time where you have to explain something and then get out. Next play. Finite amount of time. Get out. And to be able to edit yourself, I got to get the most important stuff in there instead of, I don't get to talk for as long as I want because the format doesn't allow you to do that. Even if you're in studio, they might say to Nate Burleson or Bill Cowher, hey, I'm going to go to you for 30 seconds, and Nate, I'll come back to you. Hopefully you got 30 seconds. Might have a little less. Well, Cowher goes 40, so now Nate's got 20. So now you got to figure it out. I mean, that's how this works. The guys who are great make it look easy. That's why people want to do this. Whether it's sitting in this chair, being a host on, Fox pregame, being an analyst, or sitting in the booth. The great ones make it look easy. And that's why people want to do it. That's why they think they can do it until you try to do it. Yeah, Paul.
And that in-the-ear stuff isn't just you as the host. Like if you're doing a game, let's say Greg Olson's doing a game and he's in the middle of analyzing a play and there's an injured player. The network doesn't know necessarily whether they're going to break or not going to break. They're signaled from the field that they're going to break. And Greg Olson would be like, look at here on third and down when they're trying to da-da-da-da. And I'll say, got to go to break. Because they have to get that break in a certain amount of time. All of a sudden, we'll be right back after this. And the analyst has to throw it a break. Sometimes he gets caught.
We'll get a poll question here for the final hour. And once again, Jim Jackson will join us. We'll get some phone calls as well. Still down to 2 NFL openings. Which one's better, Commanders or the Seahawks? I still like the Commanders because the level of expectation is low. You get this second pick in the draft, and you do have some cap room and you have some talent there. Seattle, you got to make the playoffs. And I think Geno Smith is your quarterback. What else are you doing? How does it change with Pete Carroll not being in there? Also, I'm curious what happens with the Dallas Cowboys. And I try not to work the Cowboys in because, everybody wants to, they're the most popular team. But I think there is a real dilemma, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year, or at least maybe halfway through this season. You got Dak's contract, Micah Parsons' contract, CeeDee Lamb's contract. You going to be able to pay all of those people? And Jerry Jones says he's all in. In fact, he was talking about he's all in on Dak Prescott, but he hasn't had the contract extension with Dak. So you have your quarterback and your coach who don't have contract extensions. Is that going to continue? Are you going to go into the season with your quarterback and your head coach in their final year? And then Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb in 2025 are going to want to get paid. And they're going to get paid at, they're amongst the best at their positions. They're going to get paid. Dak Prescott, you're going to ask him to rework that. You also have the inner workings of what's going on with the families of players in the Cowboy organization. That you got the brother of, Micah Parsons, or no, I'm trying to think who's It's CeeDee Lamb's mom, and then I think Micah Parsons has a family member involved in this as well, and then Dak's brother's involved in this as well. It doesn't bode well. But Jerry Jones says, we go as far as Dak Prescott. Well, Dak had a really good year, and how far did they go? Another embarrassing loss in the postseason. And you're not changing anything. You still have Mike McCarthy there. You have Dak Prescott there. So that to me is, interesting. And Jerry Jones said, hey, we're kind of like, we got the ball to the rim, but we can't put it in the basket. Which I don't know why he used a basketball analogy, but he kept saying, we're able to get the ball to the rim. We can't put it in the basket. But, our goal is to get it past the rim and put it in the basket. Okay. Is Dak the guy? Are you going to extend him? Are you going to, spend $60 million a year on Dak Prescott? Because that's probably what you're going to have to pay him. It's going to be, what, five for $300 million? Or just what you pay him this year and zero after that. Yeah, Marvin.
What if the Cowboys win the Super Bowl next year and say, you know what? Boom, all good. I don't have to pay anybody. I got my Super Bowl. We're all good. I don't have to pay any of you.
Oh, so you let Micah Parsons go and CeeDee Lamb go?
Jerry wanted a Super Bowl.
Dak Prescott? Just winning one more is not enough. He can say, he wants to win one more. You win one more, you're going to win one more after that. Yeah, Marv.
Yeah, you don't become a billionaire that way.
Yeah,
right.
I'm my billion. I'm good. Imagine if Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, I got my billion. I'm good. Whew, I couldn't take any more money here. I had a couple of phone calls in here. Julianne in San Diego. Hi, Julianne.
Hey, Dan. So my man is a Lions fan, born and raised in Detroit. And, of course, I'm now also a Lions fan. And I made a great mistake on Sunday while we were watching the game on the first fourth down that they didn't get points, and he's yelling at the screen to take the points. I go, they're not going to lose by a field goal. And then on the second one, he's yelling at the TV to take the points. And I went, it's okay. They're not going to lose by a field goal. And they lost by a field goal. So now I'm enduring all sorts of things, like when I say, what do you want from the store? And he goes, 6 points. Things of that nature. So this is a level of heartbreak I haven't seen, and we're both members of the DDC. So just wanted to share that I made a huge mistake, and I hope to learn from it next year.
No, thank you, Julianne. Yes. Anything from the store, hon? Yeah, 6 points. Yeah. Yeah, Marv.
So more heartbreaking, your dad dying or the Lions losing?
Oh, wow. Jeff in Detroit. Hey, Jeff.
I can answer that question. They right about equal, because you wake up the next morning realizing you thinking it was a dream. I mean, me losing my father was horrible, but the whole city was up. I mean, the energy was spectacular. You're right there. And I mean,
what was halftime like for you, Jeff?
Halftime was exciting, but I did remind my homies that Atlanta Patriots, you don't cheer until it's over with. And I mean, we were ecstatic, but
wait, were the homies celebrating?
Yeah, we were running around, jumping. The liquor was flowing. I mean, we were having a good time. It was a show enough party going on down in the city of Detroit at halftime. I went to the store at halftime, and I have never, ever seen my city this happy. I mean, people opened their doors for each other, hugging strangers. we gonna get it. We going to the Super Bowl. People making plans, and then boom. I mean, my goodness. If Reynolds catches the ball, if Gibbs doesn't fumble, if they catch those interceptions, and I'm 100% with you, go on it on fourth. I'll live with that, because we lived and died with that all year long. And the defense was horrible. That's what I was scared about, because Sutton kept getting burnt. Sutton got burnt in the last game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it turns around and it happens again.
Okay, what's more painful? Isaiah throwing the inbounds pass that Larry Bird stole, or what happened against the 49ers?
Oh, Probably they won a championship. So I'm gonna tell you what equals that. Chris Webber's timeout, because I'm a big Michigan fan.
Ooh.
That's probably the closest that I can remember. That Chris Webber timeout, because we were supposed to beat them. We had them on the ropes, and we just couldn't finish the job. I'm just getting out the bed. I just got out the bed yesterday. I'm not even gonna lie to you, Dan. I was hit, man. I was hit. People, come on, let's go to breakfast, Jeff. Nope, I'm straight. I'll eat some cereal and lay back down and just look at the sky. I mean, the sun has not popped out here in Michigan since the Lions lost. I kid you not, dude.
Well, Jeff, hang in there. Hang in there. It could always be Shea and Irving. He gets disappointed every year. You just got disappointed, once every 50 years. True disappointment. Yes, Pauline.
So if you're comparing a terrible sports loss to losing your dad, when your team wins years later, it cleans up that sports loss. That's not like getting a stepdad years later. It doesn't clean up the loss of the dad. It doesn't equate, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the Isaiah, when he had the pass that Bird stole, to DJ Laserman. That one was shocking. What happened with the Niners and Lions, you could see it unfold right in front of you. You're like, oh, my God, this is happening. Whereas, man, the Pistons are going to beat the Celtics in the Garden in a playoff game. They're going to win. And all Isaiah has to do is just inbounds the ball. And he did. Bird steals a DJ. Yes, Marv.
Maybe you guys are old enough. Were the Pistons that close to winning 4? Like 87, Bird steals the ball, 88. They lose in 7 to the Lakers, and then they win 89-90.
Yeah.
Were they that close to 4?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Sorry, Detroit.
Yeah.
You guys got 2, though.
Yeah.
Not the Lions, though. Sorry.
No. All right, we'll take a break. We'll see if Jim Jackson agrees with me. The NBA has a scoring problem. Too much scoring here. And he'll join us coming up next. More phone calls as well. We're back after this. Dan Patrick Show.
Be sure to catch the live edition of the Dan Patrick Show weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and the iHeartRadio app.
Paulie Fusco here with Tony Fusco.
Yo.
Of course, you know us as the host of the #1 rated show in all of sports talk, the Paulie and Tony Fusco Show.
Yeah.
Now, the suits at Fox Sports Radio gave us this airtime because they wanted us to tell you how great our show is.
Why?
Yeah, instead of us doing that, let's just let our millions of fans do the talking.
Yeah, play the tape.
You don't know crap about sports. I mean, why am I even on this crap?
Whoa. That's the wrong tape.
Wrong tape.
Just forget that. Look, listen to the Paulie and Tony Fusco Show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everybody? I'm Dwayne Wade, and I've been blessed to have so many titles so far in my life. But now I'm adding podcast hosts with my new podcast called The Why with Dwayne Wade.
How did you feel about me in 2006?
Well, there wasn't a lot of love there, I'd say. So there was definitely some cold times.
As I step into a new phase of my life after basketball, I find myself with new inspirations, new motivations, and new whys. On this show, I will have intimate conversations with some of the biggest names in sports, in music, in entertainment, in fashion, and we will discuss the whys in their lives.
Everybody welcome Rick Ross to the podcast.
My God.
My brother Mello, Lindsey Vonn.
Pau Gasol, Pat Riley.
Dirk, welcome. Listen to The Why with Dwayne Wade on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
The NFL playoffs are here, and there's no better way to stay up to date on the latest from our league than listening to the Around the NFL podcast. Join me, Dan Hansis, and my pals, Mark Sessler and Greg Rosenthal, for up-to-date news with just a touch of mirth. We just wrapped up our 11th regular season together. Wow, 11 years. Can you believe it, Mark?
11 seasons. It feels like more.
That's dog. We've made it through 18 weeks of regular season football, and now the fun starts, the postseason.
Because this is when football is really back.
Football is back. We've been doing this together a long time. The playoffs always offer up something we haven't seen before. We'll preview and recap every game. We make sure you don't miss out on any of those historic plays along the way.
I'm ready. Greg is ready. Are you ready, Cess Dog?
I'll be here, so you should listen to every word we say about every play we watch.
Playoff football, let's go.
The Around the NFL podcast is all you need as we make our way through the playoffs and to Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58. Listen to the Around the NFL podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Heed the call.
What's up, people? This is Cam Jordan, all-pro defensive end with the New Orleans Saints. I'm known for my work on the field.
There's pressure, and he'll go down. And that is going to be Cam Jordan.
But I also do work off the field as host of the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast. If you've tuned in, I appreciate you. If you haven't, no better time than now to catch up on the great combos we've had with guys like the Eagles, Darius Slay, the Steelers, Cam Hayward, and Max Crosby from the Raiders. But it's not all ball here. Yes, I'm the son of a former NFL player, but I'm also a husband, a father of 4, and I got 34 years of life experiences to share with the people. So, when I'm not befriending babies,
Let me see this baby.
hi, how are you today? Or taking selfies with fans,
Hit it.
Oh, no.
You weren't even ready. Perfect.
come see me right here on the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast. Get new episodes every Wednesday through the playoffs and Super Bowl 58. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Nothing says I love you for Valentine's Day, quite like a bottle of Dan Patrick's moonshine. Tailgate moonshine. Salted caramel and peppermint bark. Yeah, available at danpatrick.com. Hey, honey, I'm home, and I brought the moonshine. I loves you.
Who loves love?
Yeah, I do. I love love. I was one of the first all in on Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift because I recognize love. Maybe I'll send them a bottle. Maybe out in Vegas.
That might be on the registry.
Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst, Fox college basketball analyst. Always great to talk to Jim. All right, as a fan, the most heartbreak that you've ever felt in your life was when what happened?
My son missed a shot in the Final Four against Kentucky to go to the championship game. The first year they went, I forget what year it was, with the Wisconsin team with Frank Kaminsky and those guys. That right there was it. And I had to do, it was funny, after the game, I was working for the Big Ten Network, and I had to actually interview him after the game. Yeah. He's talking about some emotions, man. It was a great moment, in regards to capturing the moment. But, I can deal with my disappointment because that's something I can control a little bit more. But when it's your child and you watch that and then that happens, it's something different, man.
Okay, but can you separate yourself from being dad to being a broadcaster doing your job to ask your son about the shot that he missed?
Oh, no doubt, because I covered him from his freshman year, and the Big Ten Network actually took me off of his games, but I would do studio. We would do the Big Ten championships, and I would interview him. But I always said this, that whether it's a personal relationship or a child or a sibling, to me, it's if you allow the game to dictate what you talk about, then you don't have an issue. Now, you may be able to provide a little bit more insight on a particular player because you have more personal knowledge. But as long as you let the game dictate what you talk about and not make it personal, I don't really see it. I never had an issue with it.
I wonder if the NBA has a scoring problem. That there's too much scoring.
Too much?
Yeah. Is it possible to have too much scoring in the NBA?
No, I mean, you had that in the 70s. You had some high scoring, going on in the 70s. So, and I think it's the rules itself. Even in the 70s, it was physical, but guys scored the ball. I mean, I think that was the difference. The rules were a lot different in regards to the physicality, but yet there were outlier teams like the Denver Nuggets, Phoenix Suns, back in those days, that would score a lot of points. Okay. Today, David Stern late, Adam Silver, late 90s, talked about it, about Kevin Garnett, talked about, what Steph does, that they needed to change it up a little bit more, freedom of movement. And now I think it's gone. We've gone to a point where it was not enough freedom of movement to way over the arch a little bit more to now, as if you want a defensive player, a guy that really wants to make a name for himself it's tough to do that in the league today because of the rules.
Yeah, nobody's really locking somebody down. It used to be like Gary Payton was the glove.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody comes in and like they have a nickname like that.
Well, no, because it's, then it wasn't as much in regards to switching defenses because size did matter in regards to those switches. Okay. When you played the pick and roll, you got over the top, you trapped it a little bit. Big guy got back. You didn't switch small to big a lot, maybe guard to guard sometimes, forward to guard a little bit. But for the most part, you really did play a little bit more one-on-one defense with an individual. And trust me, I know I had to guard Michael Jordan a lot, so that wasn't always fun. But it was a challenge, especially against some of the better players in the league that for the majority of the game, you were to get an opportunity to match up against them. Now it's so easy when the screen comes, just switch it.
Yeah.
Just switch it. And you don't get penalized sometimes for it. Now, teams will try to identify the weakest link in the defense, but then the way the rules are, too, with the switching, a little bit of zone defense, you can shift over a little bit more and kind of take that away at some point, sometimes, not all the time.
I don't know if you heard Jason Kidd talking about Luka Doncic, that he's already better than Dirk, and you can put him in the atmosphere with Kobe and LeBron and Michael.
Talent-wise.
Scoring.
That's what you said. Yeah, scoring. Not from a winning perspective. Now, again, it took Mike, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years to be able to really start to win and win big.
Yeah.
Okay, we forget about that. Dirk a little bit later. Dirk was a late bloomer in regards to his body. And again, the game was more physical. He played on the post a little bit more. As his career progressed, remember, Dan, that's when he started to move out a little bit more, play on the wing, play on the free throw line extended. So that's the difference. Kobe had to go through his learning process early. Okay, the only person like LeBron and Michael, when he first came in the league, he was able to go. Kobe wasn't able to go. He had to learn it. He had to go through that Utah series when he shot the air ball. He had to go through that. Luka came right in and was kind of anointed, which from his perspective, he was talented enough to be able to do that at 18 years old. Dirk wasn't at that time when he came into the league. So I can see the comparison is why at this stage of their career, yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I just wonder why put that out there that you're putting him in. I know as the coach you want to compliment your player.
Yeah.
I think there's enough pressure on Luka because he's going to get to that point just like Embiid. Hey, Embiid's won these MVPs. You haven't won a title. We did that to the Joker. Hey, you won MVPs. You didn't win a title. Now he's won a title. Giannis, we did that to him. Luka's next in line, too, where we're going to go, okay, you're getting 73 in a game, but is your team going to be playing for a championship anytime soon?
Well, let me ask you this, Dan. How was the question posed, and why did Jason talk about that? I mean, I think context is key with that, too.
I don't know what the question was, but
yeah. I don't know if Jason just offered that. It had to be some contextual background to why that he gave that answer at that time.
We'll see if we can find what that question was. We're talking to Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst here. But, 70 points in a game, it's not that big a deal anymore.
No, it's not. It's now, you can't take that away from the individual because you still got to make some baskets. You still got to get to the free throw line. You still got to do all those little things to be able to score the ball. But if that was, let's say, 2002, and you scored 73, I mean, it would be everywhere. It would. But now when you have 73, and then you have Devin Booker scoring 62 in the same night, kind of what happened, who was it, when Embiid scored 70 and Karl Anthony Towns scored 62, 63.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, but and again, as a basketball player, you don't want to take away from the individual for what he did, but the game allows you. It's like right now, you're a big football fan. Back in the day, you don't think Joe Montana, those Troy Aikman wanted to pass the ball 30 times, 40 times? Think about their career numbers and where they would be.
Yeah.
So that's why when I get into comparing numbers and stats, is skewed because Larry Bird shot 1 or 2 3-pointers a game compared to Steph, and that's not taking anything away from Steph, but you got to put it in context. He's taking 8, 9, 10 a game. So his numbers are going to be extremely higher in regards to makes and attempts. So that's why it's a little bit tougher. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who is the most unguardable player in the NBA right now?
The most unguardable. Embiid.
Okay.
And I say Embiid from Jokic's perspective. Jokic and Embiid, from a different perspective. Jokic doesn't hunt shots. He just beats you. And I think Michael Malone and the Nuggets do an outstanding job of moving him around the board like a chess piece. So you just can't say, okay, we're going to take him away from the right block or left block or put him at the elbow. And he's everywhere. He'll bring it up the court, and then make a play. So stopping him from doing what? Being very effective, not just scoring. See, sometimes Embiid struggles when we get into the playoffs, scoring-wise. They put a smaller guy on him. Why? Because now when you come to help, it's a big that comes to help. So that double team is different. With Jokic, I don't care what you do. He can beat you by having the triple-double and only have 18 points. That, to me, is unguardable because you can't take away everything that makes he and his team so effective.
Okay, but the most unstoppable scorer that this guy could put up 81 points in a game.
Oh, Embiid, you can't stop him. Okay. You cannot stop Embiid. If he wants to get to a spot, if he wants to post you up, he's going to get to the free throw. You can't. It's no physical matchup in the league that can take away if he's really determined. If he wants to put the ball in the hoop, nobody, because unlike Giannis, he can step out and knock down the three, shooting like 37% from 3-point line. He shoots plus 80% from the free throw line. Well, I mean, what are you going to take away? If he's really determined and the team is really determined to get him the ball, what are you going to do? I mean, you can't stop it.
LeBron had an interesting comment after last night's loss. And
you think?
I'll let you hear it. What is he saying in this passive aggressive message?
We could on any given night beat any team in the NBA, and then on any given night we get our ass kicked by any team in the NBA. That's just what's our record?
One game under 500 is what we've seen.
Under 500?
One game under 500.
Yeah, 24-25. That's where we are.
Okay. Who is he sending that message to, Jim?
I like the point he said, what's our record? He already knew it was a rhetorical question. Then he gave him the answer right after 24-20. He already knew the answer. You know what I mean? It's like, and this is what I caution always, though. Digging into a mind of a player and what they actually think, because it's so different, especially that caliber of player on everything that he's been through. And I caution people a lot of times because you think they mean one thing and they're saying something else. Now, LeBron is great at giving subliminal messages, across the board. We know that throughout the course of his career. So there's a history there. And sometimes you're sitting back, okay, what is he really trying to say?
Yeah.
Without saying it. Kobe would just say it. He'll tell you, this is what I'm saying. Mike was like that in some ways. Charles was like that. Charles would tell you in a heartbeat. You remember that. That's why he's so good on TNT and TV. LeBron is a little bit different. I don't know if he was saying it from – it is truth in that on – like, they beat us with the Clippers twice. Okay, you can beat some of the best teams like they did Golden State. That double overtime was fantastic. But then you come back and lose. But I think that goes to the inconsistency of the team and the roster, too, on where they're at this particular place of the season. He's probably frustrated about it, too.
Do you think he ends his career with the Lakers?
Well, I thought he would end his career in Cleveland. I mean, what do I know, from that perspective, because of what he, valued the most in regards to Cleveland. And again, that's why it's hard for me because at that elite level, Dan, we don't see that a lot. I mean, I don't care if it's football, baseball, hockey, basketball, whatever it is, track and field, Olympic sports, they think different, man. It's a different mindset. And for him to be able to perform the way he's performing at this age and leaving a legacy, Would I be surprised? No. But there's only, I think, as he gets deeper into closer to 40, you got a limited amount of teams that really would take on LeBron James because of the gravity that he brings, and now he's an older player. That was when he was 33, different story. The market is not going to be the same for a 40-year-old LeBron James as it is for a 33.
It's like Bill Belichick, factoring in his age and what he would want, and it scares away teams, I believe. And LeBron would probably scare too.
Did you think the market for Bill Belichick was robust when that happened with New England, or did you say to yourself, you really don't have a lot of options? What did you think?
I didn't think that he would only have one interview, but I think he focused on the Falcons, and that's where he knew that he had a team that had underachieved, and he could make them better quicker. I didn't think the other teams. I thought Washington might interview him just because he grew up in the proximity, Annapolis, Maryland. That might be it. But, it's like Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's probably not going to get a job, and he's a really good coach. Pete Carroll is not going to get a job this year. It's just, we're seeing, this all happened, and you throw in Nick Saban. It was such a crazy week or two where these coaches were getting fired, not hired, or retiring, and they may not get hired anytime soon.
Well, with Bill, too, you think about it. Cleveland fired, not successful. But you got to New England, you had a great owner. You drafted great. Tom Brady ended up being one of the greatest quarterbacks, maybe the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. So that worked perfectly for that time period. And as you age out in sports, that's age out in business. The reason why they put retirements in at a certain period of time. Your market value is not the same, and it's unfortunate. But did Bill want more control too from the front office perspective? Maybe Atlanta was a team he looked at and said, not only could I have control from a coaching perspective, but in the front office also have that control. And a lot of teams I know weren't willing, just talking to a lot of football guys I know, weren't willing to give that up.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question that he would want to go in and be Bill Belichick and run the organization. And, I think that's where these other, franchises probably they weren't entertaining that either. So I don't know. I think he takes 1 year off, does TV, and then maybe you get, Philadelphia. They fire their head coach, Nick Sirianni, if they don't go to the conference title game. If the Cowboys don't go to the conference title game. Mike McCarthy's last year. I could see that. Before I let you go, here was the question. How much of that performance by Luka was a reaction to the criticism he got after the Suns game, the thing with the fan, or was it just one of those crazy, wild nights? So
I would say a combination, because Luka is sensitive from the perspective of listen, you got rabbit ears. You hear and see everything. Today in today's world with social media and everything, you can't get away with it. Don't say that you don't listen, I don't know. It's impossible. It is, whether that's somebody telling you that or you pop open your X feed or Instagram, whatever it may be, you're going to hear it. Local, whatever it is. So whether that the fuel to the fire was the fact that now it's a lot easier for players to get fans ejected. Back when we were playing, we had hecklers all the time. Remember Robert, what was Robert, their attorney's name in D.C.? Oh, what was Robert?
Robin Ficker?
Ficker. Oh, he would sit right behind the bench. He wouldn't say anything racial, but he was classic, and you couldn't get rid of him until something happened. It was one in Cleveland. I think it was one in Detroit. It was unreal. Unbelievable.
Okay, but how personal are they getting with you?
No, one time, Quinn Buckner drawing up a play, and he's in the back. He said, Emmy Jackson, Amal Mashburn, Ace and Kidd, I don't know why you playing. None of y'all got any J's. Saying stuff like that. And he will hold up a chalkboard behind. Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then at some point, you look forward to actually seeing and listening to what he's going to say. But, I think Luka, he's at that point of his career, too, where the Mavericks have been in between. They got to the Western Conference Finals, okay? Can you get over the top?
Yeah.
And it seems like we don't talk about Dallas, but because of the roster construction, especially in the Western Conference, it makes it more difficult to put him in that conversation because he hasn't won yet. But he's been to the Western Conference Finals.
It's great to talk to you as always.
Always, man. Hey, listen, can you send me some of that concoction?
You want
got
some
right there?
moonshine?
That peppermint bark, you don't get that in Zanesville, bro. It don't grow there, bro.
I'm maybe salted caramel. Give you some of that.
No,
wasn't that your nickname? Was that your nickname at Ohio State, salted caramel?
Not salted caramel. I'm close though. It was. Listen, but you make sure I can pair it with a nice cigar. You got to make sure I can pair it with a nice cigar. If I can do that, moonshine it is.
Well, maybe I'll send it to Jordan, too, because he loves his cigars as well. Did you ever have a cigar with Jordan?
Think I didn't? Oh, man. That's how I got into cigars.
Oh, okay. Because Mike?
Because Ron Harper, during their second three-peat, I used to go to Chicago with him, and they would do it. Mike used to smoke on the way to the game.
In his Ferrari?
Which one?
Yeah, I remember seeing Mike pull up, at the Chicago Stadium in his car, and he would get out and he would have a cigar going. He'd be having his suit on, having a cigar.
Must be nice, bro.
Yeah, living the life. Thank you, buddy. Good to talk to you again.
Always, man.
That's Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst, and Fox College basketball analyst. We'll take a break. We're back after this to close up shop.
Fox Sports Radio has the best sports talk lineup in the nation. Catch all of our shows at foxsportsradio.com. And within the iHeartRadio app, search FSR to listen live.
What's up, everybody? I'm Dwayne Wade, and I've been blessed to have so many titles so far in my life. But now I'm adding podcast hosts with my new podcast called The Why with Dwayne Wade.
How did you feel about me in 2006?
Well, there wasn't a lot of love there, I'd say. So there was definitely some cold times.
As I step into a new phase of my life after basketball, I find myself with new inspirations, new motivations, and new whys. On this show, I will have intimate conversations with some of the biggest names in sports, in music, in entertainment, in fashion, and we will discuss the whys in their lives.
Everybody, welcome Rick Ross to the podcast.
My God.
My brother Mello, Lindsey Vonn,
Pau Gasol,
Pat Riley,
Dirk.
Welcome. Listen to The Why with Dwayne Wade on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
What's up, people? This is Cam Jordan, all-pro defensive end with the New Orleans Saints. I'm known for my work on the field.
There's pressure, and he'll go down. And that is going to be Cam Jordan.
But I also do work off the field as host of the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast. If you've tuned in, I appreciate you. If you haven't, no better time than now to catch up on the great combos we've had with guys like the Eagles, Darius Slay, the Steelers, Cam Hayward, and Max Crosby from the Raiders. But it's not all ball here. Yes, I'm the son of a former NFL player, but I'm also a husband, a father of 4, and I got 34 years of life experiences to share with the people. So, when I'm not befriending babies...
Let me see this baby.
Baby! Hi, how are you today? Or taking selfies with fans...
Hit it!
Oh, no!
You weren't even ready. Perfect.
Come see me right here on the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast. Get new episodes every Wednesday through the playoffs and Super Bowl 58. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The NFL playoffs are here, and there's no better way to stay up to date on the latest from our league than listening to the Around the NFL podcast. Join me, Dan Hansis, and my pals, Mark Sessler and Greg Rosenthal, for up-to-date news with just a touch of mirth. We just wrapped up our 11th regular season together. Wow, 11 years. Can you believe it, Mark?
11 seasons. It feels like more.
That's dog. We've made it through 18 weeks of regular season football, and now the fun starts, the postseason.
Because this is when football is really back.
Football is back. We've been doing this together a long time. The playoffs always offer up something we haven't seen before. We'll preview and recap every game. We make sure you don't miss out on any of those historic plays along the way.
I'm ready. Greg is ready. Are you ready, Cess Dog?
I'll be here, so you should listen to every word we say about every play we watch.
Playoff football, let's go.
The Around the NFL podcast is all you need as we make our way through the playoffs and to Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58. Listen to the Around the NFL podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Heed the call.
By the way, DraftKings has the odds. Color of the first bucket of Gatorade poured on winning head coach. Let's go around the room, Todd. The color of the first bucket of Gatorade poured on the winning head coach. Which color has the best odds?
I'm going to go the fruit punch red.
All righty. Seton O'Connor.
I'm going to go purple.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Yeah.
Purple.
Nailed it.
All right. Second best odds. Marvin.
Blue.
Paulie.
Checking my notes, I would have thought orange would be the winner.
Orange is third.
Wow.
Yellow-green combo, second. Then orange, blue, red, clear, and then no Gatorade bath. We will ask this question to our gamblers tomorrow on the Dan Patrick Takes a Gamble podcast with Bad Larry, Shea and Irving, and Dylan, the graphics guy. So that's according to DraftKings. You know what I did one time? This is the first time I've ever said this. I was on the sidelines for a Super Bowl, prior to the Super Bowl. And I went over and checked the Gatorade. I went over, actually checked the Gatorade. And then I called one of my friends. I said, hey, I got the color of the Gatorade. He goes, seriously? I said, yeah. Now, it's a prop bet, so you can only bet so much.
Insider trading.
Yes,
what are you doing?
It was. Well, it was the wrong Gatorade that they poured on the coach.
Setup.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. How about this day in sports history, Paul?
Just got a couple for you here. You'll like this. In 1920, Joe Malone of the Quebec Bulldogs set an NHL record at the time with 7 goals in a game. Well, shout out to Joe. 1961, they approved in Houston, Texas, financing for the Superdome. The Houston, I'm sorry,
Eighth wonder of the world?
Houston Astrodome, I should say. Yeah. 1961. 1999, Fritzy, the Denver Broncos won Super Bowl 33. What was the score?
That was 34-19.
Yep.
There it is. That's it.
And they beat Dan Reeves, their former coach.
Yeah. John Elway MVP as well. Anything else in there? Cowboys beat the Bills 52-17.
Which time?
Too soon. Too soon. Let's see. Final results of the poll question, Seton O'Connor.
We have many poll questions for you today, Dan.
All righty.
Many, numerous.
Okay.
If you were Greg Olsen, which would you, or actually, who would you rather have in the booth? Greg Olsen or Tom Brady? Right now, 73% of the audience have Greg Olsen.
Okay.
Greg Olsen should stay at Fox, bide his time, or get out and find a new home. 71 have him finding a new home. And then, would you rather be the Lions offensive coordinator or the head coach of the Commanders? That's at 70% the OC of the Lions.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't get that. You could be the head coach, and it's the Commanders. Right. And Ben Johnson, maybe he'll have some other opportunities next year. Yes, Paul.
Remember, all our polls are hypothetical. Like, if you're actually offered this job, you take it.
I would think.
Yeah.
Todd, what'd you learn today?
Julianne in San Diego wrongly assured her big Lions fan husband that although they went twice on a fourth down, Detroit would not lose by a field goal.
Seton O'Connor.
M. Axon's got no J.
Marvin.
Jim Jackson, the best.
Yeah, he is good. Paulie.
Ace Kid.
Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for the phone calls, emails, tweets. We look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Dan Patrick Show.
I'm Dwayne Wade, and I've been blessed to have so many titles so far in my life. But now I'm adding podcast hosts with my new podcast called The Why with Dwayne Wade. On this show, I will have intimate conversations with some of the biggest names in sports, in music, in entertainment, in fashion, and we will discuss the whys in their lives. Listen to The Why with Dwayne Wade on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
What's up, people? This is Cam Jordan, all-pro defensive end with the New Orleans Saints. I'm known for my work on the field, but I also do work on the mic as host of the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast. Whether it's great football combos with all pros or it's fire music takes, the Off the Edge with Cam Jordan podcast is your ultimate playbook for all things football and not football. Get new episodes every Wednesday through the playoffs and Super Bowl 58. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The NFL playoffs are here, and there's no better way to stay up to date on the latest from our league than with the Around the NFL podcast. Join me, Dan Hansis, and my buds, Mark Sessler and Greg Rosenthal, for news and fresh content all playoffs long. We've been doing this together for over 10 years, and the playoffs always offer up something we've never seen before. We'll preview and recap every game as we make our way through the playoffs and to Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58. Listen to the Around the NFL podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Heed the call.